It's a broken, busted, downright insane day in the world of Magic the Gathering. Thunder Junction spoiler season has just started, and I have never seen so many cards that made me go, wait, what?
Magic. I am a wizard! History. I'm an old wizard! The Magic Historian. My bones hurt.
Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, my friends. I hope the day finds you well because we have gathered for pure insanity. These spoilers from Thunder Junction are crazy. I was trying to figure out why it felt so much more powerful and over the top than any previous spoiler season, and the reason for that is Thunder Junction is actually two sets combined into one, like double mint gum. So you've got the regular Thunder Junction set, but they were going to do an Aftermath set that they now stapled into this set, which ratchets the power level to the moon. Now, I do have to mention as well, the cards are a little bit weird in terms of the story elements they're trying to incorporate, so you might find some of them a little bit jarring as well. For example, we're going to start out with Ashiok Jace.
All right, partner, our outlaw crew is assembled. You, me, Nicobolus with the eye patch, and Cactus Boy. Let's get us some spoiler action on the dusty trail.
We're starting out with Jace Reawakened. And if you haven't been paying attention to the story, you might not know exactly what's going on here. So we'll talk about the mechanics, then I'll tell you what's going down with the actual flavor of the card. 2 blue for a 3 loyalty Jace. You can't cast this spell during your first, second, or third turn of the game, but you can cheat it into play. If you have other ways to put permanents out, he only costs 2. So if you're searching him out of the deck, slap him into play and get going, right? You want to kind of circumvent that restriction. Now, why does he have that restriction? Because he's got multiple powerhouse abilities you shouldn't be able to get so early. First one, +1, draw a card, then discard a card. Or +1, you may exile a non-land card with mana value 3 or less from your hand. If you do, it becomes plotted. And how plot works is you basically have a card exiled, and the next turn after you've done the plotting, you can cast it for free from then on for the rest of the game. You don't have to cast it the next turn. It just sits off to the side the same way that Foretell spells from Kaldheim did, but the cost is totally paid. So if you want to go storm crazy or whatever, you don't have to hang on to any mana to use that ability. It's super strong. -6, until end of turn, whenever you cast a spell, copy it, you may choose new targets for the copy. Now, on the surface, you might go, yo, I gotta activate this 3 times to get that ultimate going. But remember, this plots cards. So if you're plotting all these different spells, then you can cast them afterwards. Remember, this isn't instants or sorceries. This is any spell. So you can set up a huge plot chain and just go bam, 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 bam. There's a reason this card is mythic, son. Now, from a flavor perspective, the whole thing that's going on is in Thunder Junction, Jace is pretending to be Ashiok. And I have to admit, it's wholly unsatisfactory from a story perspective. I did a live stream ranting about it yesterday. Thunder Junction's lore makes no sense. I'm just going to get it out of the way here right now. Spoilers for the end of the story. All that's inside the vault is a Fomori space baby. Jace and Vraska take the space baby and leave. Then Akul walks into the vault gets covered in lava, and then it flies into outer space. Like, that's how the story to this set ends, my friends. So this whole reveal isn't terribly satisfying, but the power level of this card is undeniable. After that, we've got Final Showdown. This is really funky. So this is a spree card. Essentially, it's just got multiple kicker options, right? So you pay 1, it's an instant, and then you choose any number of these additional effects. Spree means choose any number of these, pay this extra. So if you wanted to do it really basic, you could pay 1 white and then add 1 to use the top ability over here, right? That says all creatures lose all abilities until end of turn. Or you can add choose a creature you control, it gains indestructible until end of turn. That would either of those would just cost 1 white or 1. But if you want to put them all together, you go 1 white, 1, and 1, so you're paying 3. All creatures lose all abilities. Choose a creature you control, it gains indestructible until end of turn. And then the final ability is a Wrath effect, where it's pay 5 more mana, destroy all creatures. So on the surface, It's 6 mana just to wipe out all creatures. If you want to do everything, it's 8 mana. That takes away all creatures' abilities, so they're not going to have indestructible. So when you wipe them out, they're going to go. You're going to get to add indestructibility to one of your guys after all the abilities have been taken away. So one of your dudes will survive, and everybody else will get wiped out. So that is a pretty powerful effect overall at instant speed. That's what makes this really crazy, right? 6 mana to wipe out all the creatures ain't a great deal, but once you factor in instant speed, it gets crazy. And speaking of crazy, I wish I knew what was going on in this artwork. It looks like crazy veins of doom are raining down from the sky and just jabbing into all these outlaw individuals. Either way, it's an epic scene, but I have literally no clue what's going on here in terms of the story because there was nothing about this. Epic moment though, and a powerhouse card. After that, we got Slick Shot Show Off. Red Rush players rejoice. This is dumb nonsense. 1 red and 1 for a 1/2 flyer with haste. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Monastery Swift Spear, eat your heart out. This thing has plot 1 red and 1. So you can literally remove it with its plot ability for its normal cost and cast it on a turn where you just want to go ham, right? Like, this is absolutely nuts. And it has flying too. I already picture myself cursing this thing out when I'm playing on Arena because it's super, super strong. Then we've got Tiny Bones joins up. Now, to be fair for the story, Tiny Bones has some really excellent moments in the story. He is one of the saving graces and is a lot of fun. 1 black for a legendary enchantment. When Tiny Bone joins up and when this enchantment enters the battlefield, any number of target players each discard a card. Whenever a legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, any number of target players each mill a card and lose 1 life. The flavor text says, it was going to be the greatest heist of his unlife. I love Tiny Bones. He was fantastic in the story. This is great artwork, and this is a totally solid enchantment, honestly. So overall, not too shabby. Strong, but not busted, right? After that, Colossal Rattleworm. This one's really interesting to me. First of all, I love big fat green creatures, and every time I look at it, my brain thinks it costs 5 mana, even though it only costs 4. 2 green and 2, 6/5. It has flash as long as you control a desert. So boom, just comes up out of the desert like nothing. Like Tremor, son. You Kevin Bacon, cause you about to be breakfast. So 6/5 Trampler for 4 mana, flash speed if you got desert. But the really interesting part to me is the last ability. 1 green and 1, exile it from your graveyard. Search your library for a desert card, put it on the battlefield top, then shuffle. So you could theoretically use this in a deck where you literally don't even care about casting it as a creature, and it's just part of a discard strategy that you can use from your graveyard afterwards to accelerate your mana base, right? Like, it puts the land straight into play. Yes, it's limited to desert, so it is somewhat parasitic, right? But honestly, that's a really cool ability, and this is a fun card flavor-wise overall. Giant sandworms out in the desert. It's got that right dusty cowboy feel to it, so I vibe on this one. After that, we've got the Key to the Vault. This is insane. 1 blue and 1 legendary artifact equipment. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, look at that many cards from the top of your library. You may exile a non-land card from among them, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order, and then you may cast the exiled card without paying its mana cost. Why, yo, I'm going to swing in for 3, look at the top 3, pick one of those spells, play it for free? Bro, what? This is nuts. So, in the story, this is the 6-part key that's needed to open the vault. And the crazy dragon scorpion beast, Akul, had already collected up 5 of them, and Oko managed to snag the 6th. But the key does get put together, and the vault does get opened. Moving on, we've got Vraska the Silencer. A green, a black, and 1 for a 3/3 with Death Touch. Whenever a non-token creature an opponent controls dies, you may pay 1. If you do, return that card to the battlefield tapped under your control. It's a treasure artifact with sacrifices artifact, add a mana of any color, and it loses all its other card types. This is really funky, the idea of her turning everybody into stone. I wish that she had done this in the story, because Vraska never turned anybody but trying to turn Oko into stone, and Oko just went, oh, I can use my shapeshifter ability to make it not happen. So ultimately, like, there's no real payoff. I think actually Vraska does turn 1 random guy in a saloon to stone, but we never get this epic level. I have to admit that for a set that's supposed to be full of villains, there was barely any collateral damage, and even the most villainous barely did anything. And the story also went on about how Vraska's all scarred up from the fire rest, but the art doesn't match, so there's a little bit of disparity there, but the power level on the card is undeniable, and the flavor concept underneath is really cool. After that, we have Magda the Horde Master. This one really confused me. 1 red and 1 for a 2/2. Whenever you commit a crime, create a tapped treasure token. I like that treasure tokens are coming in tapped now because Wizards has gone ham making tokens. There's like 1 billion of them, and they give you such an advantage that slowing down the treasure advantage that you can't use the mana right away is definitely a smart move. So on top of when you create crimes, creating a treasure token, which by the way feels flavorfully perfect. Committing crimes leading to treasure, A1, bro. Now, the other thing, sacrifice 3 treasures, create a 4/4 red scorpion dragon creature token with flying and haste. The confusing part is that makes it seem like they're native to this world, but we've been told that this world doesn't really have any inhabitants, and the scorpion dragon Akul, who is the main antagonist of the story, is presented as a singular entity who's come from somewhere else, as opposed to being a resident. So it is confusing to see that Magda is able to bring in all these scorpion dragons, but if you throw away the written story, it's just super epic. This doesn't come up in the story. Magda's not part of the story at all. This is the Buy a Box promo, by the way, and that shows that Wizards is really swinging for the fences with power level, because Buy a Box promos are almost always garbage, and this is not garbage. This is a powerhouse card. Then we got Free Strider Lookout. 1 green and 2 for a 3/3 with reach. Whenever you commit a crime, which is literally targeting like anything your opponents control, your opponent and or cards in their graveyard, all that stuff, right? So whenever you commit a crime, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You can put a land card from among them into your battlefield tapped, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order, but the ability only triggers once a turn. That makes sense, right? Because it's crazy strong. You know, every time I play a fight spell, I can go ahead and grab a land, and it's not just your turn. So if you space it out and you're doing instant stuff on your opponent's turn, because there's so much instant green smack you in the mouth style cards now that you can just do that. I love all the toys green has, and I will absolutely be putting this guy into my 250 card green tower that I rock, because yeah, 100. After that, we've got the Gitrog Ravenous Ride. This thing is so crazy strong. 1 black, 1 green, 3 gets you a 6/5 trample with haste. Just already, that's crazy. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you can sacrifice a creature that's saddled at this turn. And note, its saddle cost is 1, which means almost any creature can saddle up the Gitrog. So, you can sack a creature that saddled Gitrog this turn when he attacks, when it deals combat damage, I should say. If you do, you draw X cards and put up to X land cards from your hand onto the battlefield tapped, where X is the sacked creature's power. Sacrifice a creature that's got 3 power. Go ahead, draw 3 cards, put 3 lands into play if you want. Like, what? That's so strong. You don't even have to be attacking with the creature that's saddled, right? Obviously, saddling taps, so the creature's probably not going to be able to attack. But the point is, you don't have to risk tiny little creatures. You can throw them on Gitrog to get this bonus. And I love the idea of the Gitrog monster literally just eating people who ride him. You know what I mean? Like, it's that whole, well, you can ride a tiger, but how are you going to get off, right? Because once you try, it's just going to eat you. Same kind of deal with the Gitrog. Get rocked, Gitrog. This is ultra powerhouse, and the artwork's super satisfying. Look at the Gitrog tearing on, I have to admit, this artwork's clearly not from Thunder Junction, right? They just painted a couple cactuses in the background and used artwork that they had made for Gitrog before, because he's coming out of a bog, and this is not Thunder Junction looking. But I don't care, man. He looks dope. Then we got the Great Train Heist. 1 red for, it's another spree, instant style. So you can pay 1 red and 2, untap all creatures you control. If it's your combat phase, there's an additional combat phase after this turn. That's nuts. Relentless Assault was 4 mana, and that was a sorcery that let you take an extra combat and untap your dudes. And like, we've come so far now that you can do that at instant speed during your combat. Like, bro, you can do that after they've declared blockers and everything. That's wild. And then you've also got Add 2, creatures you control get +1 and gain first strike until end of turn, so you can boost them up for multiple attacks and destroy blockers that are in the way. And 1 red. Choose target opponent. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to that player this turn, create a tapped treasure token. Can you imagine if those were untapped? You could literally train multiple heists one after the other. You could just chain them together because you could just sack the treasures from the previous one to cast another one during the combat. Like, it's what? Like, this is insane power. In terms of the artwork, it kind of feels muddy-ish, like to see what's going on, and it doesn't represent the way they had the train heist in the story as well. So yeah, there's a train in the background, a bunch of people on horses, and they got, I don't know, techno axes, can't say I like that. The artwork doesn't really scream anything to me. The power level on this card is undeniable. Definitely will put this in my cube. Then we got Nexus of Becoming. So, remember when I said in the vault, all that's there is Jace's Space Baby? Well, they have a ton of artifacts in this set that are super powerful, and they didn't even bother to say, oh yeah, there's a bunch of cool stuff in the vault. They're like, nothing was in there except for a kid. You're just like, but what about the swords and stuff you're going to put in the set? And there's like, shh. So yeah, forget about any story meaning for anything, especially with the big score set symbol on it. You notice the vault? They will not tie into the story. It's just a bunch of art Wizards had kicking around. Like, you may not realize this, but for the last like 3 sets at least, Wizards has been desperately using up all the artwork they have kicking around because it costs them less money and Hasbro's leaning on them to spend less. So that's how we end up with scenarios like this. These cards were meant to be like foundries on Kaladesh and stuff like that. But either way, put that aside, let's look at them from a power perspective. 6 casting cost artifact. At the beginning of combat on your turn, draw a card. Then you can exile an artifact or creature card from your hand. If you do, create a token that's a copy of the exiled card, except it's a 3/3 golem artifact creature in addition to its other types. So it has all the abilities of the exiled card and just counts as a 3/3. So if it's a bigger than a 3/3, it would make it smaller. But you can literally turn things that weren't creatures, just artifacts, into creatures with their artifact abilities still. And it draws you cards every turn to feed itself. Like, this is bazzonkers, and this is another top pick for my cube, bro. After that, Transmutation Font. 5 casting cost. This is another one of those vault cards, just so you know. This is the promo artwork of it with this crazy ox head. I like it because, I mean, for real, this is dark steel. Look at it. You can see the line zipping around it. This was something crafted out of dark steel originally. I wish I knew what it was. But anyways, Transmutation Font, 5 casting cost. Tap it, create either a blood token, a clue token, or a food token. 3 and tap it, sack 3 artifact tokens with different names. Search your library for an artifact. Put it onto the battlefield. This is crazy. Tokens are so easy to make, and this thing will let you tutor artifacts straight into play. And the fact that at least they limit it to being sorcery speed, right? Like, my head would have blown right off my body if they did it instant speed, but the power level has gotten so high that I can't say I'd be 100% surprised if they did that, guys. Either way, really interesting artwork. It's crazy. The blood dripping out of this ox head, this is so metal, bro. I really dig it. Then we've got Kellen the Kid, more bonkersness. 1 blue, 1 white, 1 green, 3/3 flying lifelink. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you can cast a permanent spell with equal or lesser mana value from your hand without paying its mana cost. If you don't, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. It rewards you for cheating spells out. Like plotted spells and all that. It rewards you for that. But on top of working with plotted cards, we first got Kellen on Eldraine, right? And he's all about going on adventures. Eldraine's all about adventure cards. And adventure cards are ones where you play one side, then you play the other side. And if you can find ways to cast those for free, you can tie into his abilities and make it feel like he's going on a big free adventure. Either way, it's pretty interesting to see that Kellen, like, aged, like, I don't know, 10 years since the last time we've seen him. It's been a year, but he's aged 10 years. It makes me feel like Richard Grieco in those movies where he's supposed to be like, licensed to drive. And it's like, I'm a teen. Bro, you're 32 years old. Like, you're 32. So Kellen the Kid is not a kid. This is Kellen I have a mortgage and a wife, right? Like, I found out who I was. Now it's time to discover who I am. Ugh. Wow. That flavor text sucks. The artwork is incredible, though. Apparently, you guys have been saying that these are Halo swords, and I finally saw it, and I agree with you. These are Halo swords. So I don't know why Kellen has a light Halo sword. I think it's dumb. I think they should have went pow and gone full on blaster 6-shooter style, but what are you gonna do, right? This is evocative artwork though. The energy and motion that's in it, you can see Kellen is flying up backwards while holding this blade. It is really well done. You cannot dispute the talent of Magali, even if the card's flavor is a little wonky, right? Then we've got Gisa the Hellraiser! 2 black and 3, 4/4. Ward 2, pay 2 life. You got to pay 2 mana and 2 life to target her. Skeletons and zombies you control get +1/+1 and have menace. I thought it was going to be the siblings together that did this. And who knows, maybe both of them have an ability like that. But either way, she's a skeleton and zombie lord, which I totally dig. And whenever you commit a crime, create 2 tapped 2/2 black and blue zombie rogue creature tokens. This ability triggers only once a turn. You just have to target your opponent with anything every turn, and you get 2/2 tokens. On a 5 cost that requires multiple things to be able to target it and gives the tokens +1/+1 and menace. So as long as she's out, you target your opponent with anything, and you get 2/3/3s that they have to double block. Like, this is nutty. This is beyond bonkers crazy, for real. Like, it's so powerful. And the artwork is fun, even if Gisa doesn't look like herself at all. Like, I don't know what happened to her, and I understand there's a certain level of artistic license with different people portraying characters different ways. Like, remember when the one guy painted Chandra and he stared at himself in the mirror and you're like, why is Chandra's face so mannish? And it's because it's that dude's face. I don't know why Gisa ended up looking so different, but her actual looks aside, the energy of standing there with the shovel, arise dead, is fun. It's too bad that Thunder Junction was an uninhabited plane and there's no real graveyards to do this in, so this literally can't be. Like, this is them just using Innistrad artwork, guys. Like, 100%. And that's a lot. A lot of this is slush art. Bloomburrow's going to be the same, but at least it's all animals, so it won't feel as noticeable. Then we've got Annie Flash, the veteran. I picked this version because of how goofy she looks in the artwork. Annie, what happened to your face? Annie, are you okay? No, you're not okay. What happened to your face? And the way she's holding her stupid weapon, like, she looks like she's given up on life and her face is melting like Buddy and RoboCop, right? So, 1 white, 1 green, 1 red, and 3. That's down along the side in case you don't know where casting cost is. She's a legendary human rogue with flash. When she enters the battlefield, if you cast her, return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Whenever she becomes tapped, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play those cards this turn. So, this one feels strong, but because of her casting cost, she doesn't feel like OP. She feels like one of the not so insane mythics, but I could easily be eating these words later down the road if someone finds like an easy way to cheat her out. Because if you can get her running, it's just going to be, it could be a similar situation to the card advantage that Winota provided in the past. So I don't feel like she's going to make a huge splash, but who knows when it comes to Annie Flash. That rhymed. Moving on. Vaultborn Tyrant. Oh, this makes me giddy. Also, this is clearly just leftover Ixalan stuff. Let's be real. 2 green and 5, 6/6 trample. There was nothing in the vault except for a baby. Definitely not dinosaurs. So, Vaultborn Tyrant is a 6/6 trampler for 7 mana. That's a hefty casting cost in today's world. But what you get for it? Whenever it or another creature with power 4 greater enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 3 life and draw a card. I was like a circus seal when I saw this because I love big, dumb green, bro. I will always at heart be a Mega Timmy. And this is, bro, are you kidding me? Every time, I don't even have to cast it. I just have to get other power 4 creatures out and I get 3 life per and draw a card. And they're like, just wait. When it dies, if it's not a token, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. So it literally comes back as an artifact construct version of itself. You get a 2-for-1, a Shadowborn version of it, right? Bro, I love this so much. Now, next up, Rakdos, the muscle. Rakdos did like nothing in the Thunder Junction story, like at all. Until the very end, we're like, actually, he's here, he's going to do a little bit. It was incredibly the opposite of gratifying to have this giant demon in the world doing like nothing. You see this artwork where he's doing all this? This never happens. You never get to see this in the story. He just punches Ral and then he gets into a fight with a Cool. Like after, like he just stood by while everybody gets messed up and does nothing, and you don't even know he's there. You don't even know he's in town until the last installment of the story. He was like, I've always been here. What? So I found that really annoying. But anyways, 1 red, 2 black, and 2, 6/5 flying trample. Whenever you sack another creature, exile cards equal to its mana value from the top of target player's library. Like anybody's, yours, his. Until the end of your next end step, you may play those cards, and mana type of any type can be spent to cast those spells. Sack another creature, he gains indestructible until end of turn, but you have to tap him. And you can only do that once a turn. So that, at least, you know what, is a nice thing to do, because you can go, I'm going to destroy him. In response, I'll sack this. In response, I'll destroy him again. You can't sack another creature. There are other creatures they've made in the past where it's just sack a creature to make it indestructible. And me and Cactus Boy both agree that's nonsense, and it's really hard to deal with those creatures. So this 5 mana, 6/5 flying trample, and it eats cards off of your opponent's deck that you can play, or just feeds you more of your own resources. And like all of them, it's not pick one, it's any number of the cards. It's like, bro, this is nuts. This is a very satisfying card, honestly. Like from a play perspective, everything you get from it, the artwork overall, if you're a Rakdos fan, like bro, I wish the written story delivered on the level that the cards did, because the cards are delivering some fun flavor. All right, so there you go, my friends. That wraps it all up. We've looked at all the cards. If you want to hear about how ridiculous the story is and like the rant about it, that's over on my live stream archive. I'll leave that as a link here at the end so you can hear how ridiculous the story is. And if you want to talk about more Thunder Junction spoilers, tonight I'm going to look at everything that didn't make this bonkers list, because there's a bunch of crazy uncommons and stuff I had to cut. 2 red to do 5 damage to any creature. What? And the artwork on it is amazing. Like, there is a bunch of powerhouse stuff in this set, and you have not seen it all. Not even all the rares and everything. So I'll be doing a live stream tonight. There'll be a link to it here at the end of the video as well. Thanks for coming by, my friends. Big thank you to all the patrons who put money in my pocket. You guys rule. Thanks for supporting me. And I will see you all, my friends, in the next video or in a stream tonight. Yeehaw! Saddle up and get on rolling on out of here, doggy. Me and Cactus Boy, we're done.